I've always thought of myself as an outside person. As a child, I played outside all the time in all kinds of weather. As a young parent, I spent countless hours with my family camping, hiking, gardening, and just being outside. I didn't care for air conditioning, so I insisted that our first new car we purchased did not have it installed. It was not a real popular idea. Not for the car dealer either. I had always been an open the windows kind of person. Our children might be slightly resentful that I often did not turn on the AC unless it was really, really humid outside. It wasn't until our lives hit a rough patch that I learned of the healing power of being in the natural world. Walking the shore of Lake Michigan, I realized open spaces heal my soul. Later, during the COVID years, I relearned that my personal well-being was rescued by the privilege of walking in the woods, breathing fresh air, puttering in the garden, and feeling the release from the same four walls. Mary Oliver says it much better in her poem, When I Am Among the Trees. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech and the oaks and the pines, they give off hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. But around me, the trees stir in their leaves and they call out, stay a while. The light flows from their branches and they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into this world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. I feel overwhelming gratitude to our predecessors who thought to preserve the natural beauty of this country, creating parks, preserves, and other venerable areas. I feel overwhelming sadness when I see so much apathy, indifference toward protecting our world. This morning, we welcome David, who will help us ponder, how then shall we live upon earth?
Good morning, all. Good morning. So my copy editor wife would be angry at me because there should be a comma after the word then. Thankfully, she's not here, nor did I tell her about the Zoom, so she's busy doing something else, right? Yeah. Thanks, Peg. So how then shall we live on this earth? I feel like you folks all get it, so there's not more I need to say, but what I do want to do is share with you a couple of things about kind of where I come from, my work with Hoosier Environmental Council, and then some reflections which I subtitle, I crossed out the word radical because that's too difficult now these days, but I wrote a radical redirection of humankind. A lot of what we need is a redirection, and so I hope to give a little bit of a personal guideline to that. Well, my name is David Van Gilder, and I stand here as a 20-minute obstacle to social time and to the movie. Don't blame me, I didn't do the schedule. Jan, Rebecca, okay. But I want to give thanks for Jan for the guidance that she gave me through a series of emails ahead of this time to prepare me for this, and also to Chuck Wolf for inviting me. Chuck and I are, as a couple of other folks here, are in Rotary, and we like to think of different ways to get others of us involved in good things like this congregation. As Rebecca said, I'm the Senior Policy and Legal Director, which sounds like a big title for Hoosier Environmental Council. I've been doing that for about 2.5 years, and frankly, it's sort of a culmination of my policy thinking and my work over all the years that I've been doing things ever since Faith and I were Peace Corps volunteers in Botswana in 1986 and 88, 288. My studies, my work, my life has led me to some of these reflections. So if we could go to slide 2, let me tell you a little bit about Hoosier Environmental Council. This is a 42-year-old statewide environmental advocacy organization, which just by saying those words puts people to sleep. But what we really do is we work on the issues that are important to us and important to you and important to society. Our vision is an Indiana that has, in which all residents have abundant access to clean water, natural lands, pure air, and affordable clean energy. Who could argue with that? But apparently a lot of people do. So we continue to work in those areas: air, water, clean energy, and natural lands, preserves that Rebecca was talking about. Our mission is that the council leads and collaborates with diverse coalitions to achieve a healthy natural environment and thriving sustainable communities. Again, who can argue with that? But apparently they do. I want to say a little bit more about HEC. We're 42 years old, formed in 1983, which also is coincidentally the year of my union with my wife, Faith. And it's another great union, HEC is. It began as a true council, actually. It began as a group of disparate groups like Sierra Club, Audubon clubs, some small groups that are against the I-69 highway back then, people who were really concerned about Hoosier National Forest and the direction that the Forest Service was taking there, got together and formed this council. And so as you can imagine, it was a really fractious board of directors meetings, because you had, Sierra Club here and Audubon here and Save the Dunes up there, and everybody had their own agenda. And the board meetings, as I recall, being a director starting in 1991, went all day long, all Saturday long, and actually didn't finish. But now we're sort of settled down a little bit. We're less of a true council like that, but more of a collaborative group. So, for example, the work that I do in the State House during the legislative session involves talking to Indiana conservation voters, CLC, Conservation Law Center, the Citizens Action Coalition, which has been around as long as Hoosier Environmental Council, and really, what's our policy? How do we advance it? Who do we need to talk to help advance our policy? So HEC is much more effective now, I think, than it has been. Unfortunately, a lot of people will say, so Indiana is still sort of dead last in terms of water quality and air quality and the percentage of its land that is dedicated to nature preserves or to any sort of protected status. What have you been doing for the last 42 years, HEC? Well, as you also may know, we're up against a lot of counter forces. And so I encourage people to take a look at our website, especially during the session. We have some really strong, very simple, straightforward, these are the bills that are being talked about in the State House. Here's how we feel about them. Here's how we think you ought to feel about them. And here's what to do to take action on them. So we're a very action-oriented organization now. We have different programs. We do a lot of work in sustainable agriculture. We do, overarching all of our work is environmental justice work. So we look at all of the issues that we deal with through a lens of how is this affecting the communities who are most impacted by a particular policy, and how do we make sure we're talking with those people and they're talking with us and getting their input. So sustainable agriculture, water and wetlands, environmental justice, environmental health. We have a really strong program dealing with children's asthma and also lead poisoning, especially we help rehab houses in the South Bend area in particular, as we're looking around the state for places to assist with children's health benefits. We also do, as part of my work, I do a lot of work with forests, both state forestry and the Hoosier National Forest, trying to make sure that the programs there are on track to be protective and to be sustainable. And the last work that we do is with coal ash. You heard me right, coal ash, which is the thing we don't think about. In the old days, we used to have almost 80% of our energy, electricity, in the state of Indiana was produced by burning coal. And the residue of coal burning is ash, just like in your fireplace, except it's not just like in your fireplace because it's full of heavy metals and other nasty things that get into our groundwater pretty easily. So we do a lot of work on that. So that's a bit about Hoosier Environmental Council, and again, I invite you to take a look at our website and to engage where you find your passion lies, whether it's water quality or protection of forests and wildlife, wherever it happens to be, or kids' health. So I will go and ask for slide number 5. Oh, no, one more thing I need to say here. Go back to that one, thank you. To the definition of environmentalism. That's slide 4, I believe. There we go. At the back, at the bottom, it says, the environment is everything, where we live, work, play, go to school, as well as the physical and natural world. Dr. Robert Bullard, for those who have done a lot of reading in environmental justice, is sort of the father of environmental justice. He's the one that sort of coined that term and defined it academically. And what that really tells us is that everything that we do, everything we touch, everything is connected to everything else. And now we'll go to the slide, because welcome to your home. Welcome to your home. This presentation is my own, a personal reflection after 50 years of reading and thinking about what it means to be part of the fabric of life on this earth. So if you don't like what I'm going to say, please do not hold it against Hoosier Environmental Council or my law firm, Fletcher Van Gilder. Neither of those fine organizations vetted or approved the words that I'm going to speak today. So this was a photo taken in 1968. And I'm just going to read a little bit about it because I think it's an important grounding. This image represents far more than a pretty picture. Since this photo was taken, humanity's gradual exploration of space has taught us a great deal about our home planet. From space, we have learned that Earth is a complex system. Its atmosphere, ocean, land, life, and energy all meld together into a single organism. We have learned important lessons about our climate and how it is changing. We've observed the global sea level rise and Arctic sea ice melt in response to warming oceans. We have come to understand how pollution is transported around the globe. We've watched the ozone hole develop over Antarctica and took steps to remedy it. These are just a few of the important discoveries that the perspective from space has enabled. It may be said that the perspective from space revolutionized Earth science. The photo itself, was taken in, as I said, in 1968, and it is, the astronauts were close to the moon, and of course this is a little bit blown up. And you can see North America, you can see a little bit of Florida sticking out in the upper left, or the left side, and then you can see South America kind of at the bottom in the middle, and you can see the dramatic effect of the Andes Mountains along that dry brown area on the west coast of South America. A lot of times perspective is important, right? We knew those things were happening. We're on the ground. We're under the cloud cover in South America. We knew there were huge trees and tree cover and jungles. We knew that the Atacama Desert on the west side of the Andes was super dry, but seeing it from this perspective gives us an overall view. And the thing that I think is signal to the work that I do and the thought process that I have is that this is it. This is all we have. It's not a plan viable for the future of humans to think we can populate colonies elsewhere in the solar system. It's also not a plan viable to most humans to believe we can carry on business and commerce, agriculture and industry as usual and survive the chaos that will ensue because we know what's coming. It's not a plan that will work for most humans to tinker around the edges of issues, simply adding more money and energetic action to one problem while studiously ignoring many others. It's also not a plan helpful to all people to say everything is in the total control of a creator, giving all respect to those who deeply and earnestly believe so. To my mind, by doing that, we diminish humankind, and naturally, that offers no hope to non-believers. We can't leave anybody behind. This is it. It's all we have. So with these points in mind, what do we do? How then shall we live on this earth? This talk presents a few ideas about changing course using tools and knowledge we already possess, and with strategies that can be embraced, adopted, and implemented beginning today by all peoples all over the world. These ideas do not rely on technology, nor on political or religious leaders, nor on control by an elite of scientists, intellectuals, megacorporations, or oligarchs. It's just us, the people. So let's get started. We've developed over the years pretty sophisticated organizational structures for human societies, which of course differ in major respects across the time span of human existence and presently around the world. Entire branches of science and social science investigate these differences. And any one of you who has had the privilege of living overseas or the misfortune of attending an Ohio State football game can attest to these varied cultures. I've got really good friends who are OSU people. So. At bottom, however, there are immutable characteristics inherent in every human culture, and we all require food, water, shelter, and the company of other like souls. Beyond that, I will suggest a number of other important needs which are inspired by one of my literary and philosophical heroes, Wendell Berry. Berry's nonfiction serves as an extended conversation about the life he values. According to him, the good life includes sustainable agriculture, appropriate technologies, healthy rural communities, connection to place, the pleasures of good food, animal husbandry, good work, local economics, the miracle of life, frugality, reverence, and the interconnectedness of life. I will use this list to illustrate my point of view, which is that we can and should alter course by pursuing those things and eschewing others that we now hold dear, or that we've told we need to hold dear, but that will ultimately destroy us. We can change direction and be assured perhaps another 200,000-year run on this fantastic planet. Again, Wendell Berry's, and I'm agreeing with his esteemed thinking, sustainable agriculture that can be carried forward, that can produce food, that can produce healthy soils, regenerative agriculture. Those things are within our grasp, and we can do those if we decide. Appropriate technologies. I think we all know, because we pull our phones out of our pockets every once in a while and they don't work, that not every technology that comes down the pike is appropriate. Doesn't help us. Healthy rural communities. You know, we have cities, we have rural communities, we have small towns. All of that needs to be kept healthy and working together. A connection to place. For a lot of people, a place can be like this place on a Sunday or during the week for other things. Or it can be Fort Wayne at large. It can be the Midwest. But we have to have a connection to a place. And I think that's valuable for all humans. The pleasure of good food, which I hope includes wine and beer. That's an important thing. All of us need to be nourished, and the bare sustenance doesn't give us the full set of joys that the pleasure of good food does. Some might argue animal husbandry shouldn't be on that list, but the humankind has evolved together with animals, both domestic and wild. And Wendell Berry believes, and if you read a lot of his work, he's a rural Kentuckian who grew up on behind a set of horses plowing his rocky fields, believes very strongly in that. And I think it has a place in our environment. Good work, what does that mean? Well, we need to be employed in some fashion. It doesn't mean 70 hours a week. It doesn't even mean 40 hours a week. It just means work that is satisfying to us. Good work for that. Local economics. A lot of our economic discussion is about GDP and growthism, and what we really need is local economics, things where we barter and exchange and we support small organizations like CWOW, for example. The miracle of life. Again, this gets distorted and debated in a way, but I think we can all agree that life is a miracle. The fact that we're alive, that we got up today, and that there's new life, there's young kids, there's babies, there's just life all around us if we pay attention. Fidelity. You know, we need to treat each other with respect and with some sort of reciprocity, to be honest with each other. Frugality. We have a wasteful society, we all know that. Something like 40% of the food that's produced and purchased or served to us in restaurants is wasted, thrown out, goes nowhere. Reverence. You know, this congregation and all the congregations that are meeting this weekend and every week in this community foster that spirit of reverence, which I think is important to humans. And then, of course, the interconnectedness of life, the fact that we are not alone, each of us, not even our little nuclear families or our spouses or whoever we hang out with, the interconnectedness of all living things and all, frankly, things that we've regarded in the past as non-living, the soils, rocks. I will add a couple of my own that I think are important to Wendell Berry's list. One is the basic universal public education that helps teach and support these values, and universal health care that ensures the ability of all persons, able or not, rich or poor, a place in a functioning and whole society. The threats Berry finds to this good, simple life include, these are threats, industrial farming, the industrialization of life, ignorance, hubris, greed, violence against others and against the natural world, the eroding of topsoil, global economics, and environmental destruction. What is not on that list of virtues is militarism, growth for growth's sake, mindless entertainments, perpetuation of massive gaps in income and well-being, exploitation of finite natural resources, and the pure pursuit of power. So what I'm suggesting here is that we pursue the things that are in the simple life list and step away from those things that are dangerous and destructive, that have been in some ways woven into our society and more recently seem to be on the rise. We've been really good at those last pursuits, this militarism and growth for growth's sake and mindless entertainment, pursuing of power. But we also know about and can more easily control the virtues. I think we must turn away from our pursuits and embrace the virtues that we all recognize are within our capabilities. So I said at the beginning it was sort of radical, but it's not radical. It's just like turning away from the things that are harmful and turning toward the things that we know sustain us and give us those qualities of connectedness and love with all people, all things. It sounds naive. I've been talking about this for a number of, as Rebecca said, decades. Thank you for reminding me of that. But it's important. It's important to have those conversations and to look at the things that you do every day and say, do I need to do that? Do I need to work those extra hours? Do I need to buy this thing? Is there another way I can be honoring of somebody's birthday or something like that other than going out and buying an IU sweatshirt? Yeah, probably the answer is yes, I'm guessing. So what I invite, because I don't have all the solutions at all, but what I invite is more conversation about this. I invite you to engage with any organization that you think is working towards these virtues and stepping away from these pursuits that we've been engaged in as a society for so long. I invite you to engage with Hoosier Environmental Council. Call me, email me, talk to me, and I'll answer questions and help you think about through some thorny issues, because the answers are not always easy. So if we'll go to that second to the last slide, I want to encourage people to have more conversation and how you will benefit and participate in a redirection of our planet. And this means everybody from, Ed, are you 88? 88 down to 0, and all those others. So at HEC, our goal is to make Indiana a better place to live, breathe, work, and play. We do a lot of education and advocacy, and we have passion for that. And so I, again, encourage you to engage with us and keep on working. I'll leave you with a short poem by Wendell Berry, of course. It's called The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Again, I'll be around outside there to answer questions and to talk, engage in conversation. I'll be available offline if you want to call me or email me or throw brickbats at me metaphorically, or that's fine. So I just encourage you in that last slide, or second to the last slide, to keep working at it. This picture, again, was taken in 1968 as the Earth rose around the moon. This was the perspective that they had of Earth at that point. Again, the barrenness of the moon on the right, the velvety blackness of the space, and our one small pale blue dot where we live. Thanks for listening.